override.
Mike says, where's the donuts?
Here's the donuts, right across the street.
Dunkin' Donuts right there.
All right.
Welcome, everyone, to Y.E.S show number 6. Jerry, yes.
Yes. Yuma Entrepreneur Show.
Today, our special guest is Mike Miller
Mike
from
Miller.
PhD.
How you doing?
PhD. A lot of people don't realize, well, a couple of people realize that I do have my PhD.
You do?
Yes,
What's it in?
yes. 1993, my public high school degree.
There you go. Nice.
Yes. Yeah.
Nice.
That's our bad joke of the day.
I'm a post hole digger.
Yeah.
Post hole digger, yeah.
Mike
that's-
is. Mike. I've known Mike for, 15 years probably at least.
Yeah.
And again, this is another guest that we had to ask the question once, and there was no hemming and hawing. It was absolutely, I'll be there. Let me know when and where. I just want free water and maybe some donuts, and that's all it took to get Mike here. So we appreciate it.
No donuts, just water.
Just water. So yeah, PhD is Mike's business, professional home doctor, and I've worked with Mike in construction, and he also has a plumbing company which is ran under PhD as well.
Mm-hmm.
And you do commercial and residential projects.
Yeah, we're actually pretty busy right now.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff going on.
Absolutely, you're a hustler, right? Go out there and grind.
I try to.
Absolutely. So what we have?
Yeah, let's start off with a quote. What did you learn this week?
All right, this is I've been grinding through this book, Grit by Angela Duckworth, and it's been a great read so far, and something that and I think I posted this before on my page, but it's just a great quote that I look over. And so the subject is about talent versus effort versus skill, and so it says talent you have naturally. Skill is only developed by hours and hours of beating on your craft. I would add that skill is not the same thing as achievement either. Without effort, your talent is nothing more than unmet potential. Without effort, your skill is nothing more than what you could have done but didn't. With effort, talent becomes skill, and at the very same time, effort makes skill productive. And so I may have read this last week or not, but if I did, then good. We should probably hear this twice. I need to be reminded of this constantly because I am an impatient person. I like to I have a hard time going a mile deep because I have it's just my personality. So that grounds me, keeps me focused on learning every nuance to my business to become better and provide better service and help people. And I think we could all benefit from that, especially in today's age where everything's so fast-paced and there's so many distractions. So Grit, Angela Duckworth, read this book. It's amazing.
You're bleeding that book dry. That's awesome. I haven't started that, but I definitely will have to pick up a copy because you keep talking about it and you're excited about it
Absolutely.
still after a couple weeks.
Absolutely.
That's great. Well, to add on to that, Jerry, you talk about effort versus talent, and a lot of people think, am I good enough to do this? I don't really have that particular talent. I don't do this, that, or the other where I think I deserve to follow my dreams. I want to share two things really quick on that. I keep hearing again and again about goals, and I got sidetracked. And at the beginning of the year, I was looking at my goals two times a day, once in the morning, once in the evening. And things got busy, and let me show you my calendar. Like back in February, look at this, full.
Wow.
And what happens when you prospect and you try to keep your calendar full and you keep activities going, then what happens is you get busy and you have to make sure that you service the things that came about from your prospecting. And then that happens in my business. You don't see the fruits for 2-3 months, and then I'm too busy with closing the stuff that I prospected for 2 months ago, and then all of a sudden some things go wrong. I get a bad attitude, and I stop doing the prospecting. I stop looking at my goals, and then it's all like a big cycle. So I have to reevaluate, notice what I did wrong, notice in myself that, hey, I failed with this, but now I learned because I know I can help people. I want to help people. I can get the business. I can prospect. I can help people. Now let's put some systems in place and get that going and look at my goals. Why am I trying to do what I'm doing? Because I look at my goals and then it's like a roadmap, right?
Absolutely.
So people with goals succeed because they know where they're going. And sometimes we write our goals and we don't look at them. We just look at them once every blue moon. But then everything else, we go through the motions, and then you have the third party things that are like the news, all the negative news that's happening right now.
Turn the news off, please.
Yeah, I mean, and then you have summertime in Yuma. You know, we were on the radio this morning, and we heard that the economy is bad. Yuma's not, the business is shut down because of the summer. And you get all those things, and all that stuff works on you. But if you focus on yourself with your goals and make sure that you follow that roadmap and you have that mindset, I think half the battle is your mindset.
Oh.
Whatever it is you think between your 2 years, and you keep pushing and grinding and hustling on those goals, then your attitude just changes.
That's your reality.
That's your reality. So I wanted to share that with you. You know, all
Mike, that's
just raw and exposed. Everything's not roses.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep going, hustling, grinding, fall down, get back up, try it again.
Absolutely. Does that sound familiar to you, Mike?
Oh yeah.
Hustling, bidding projects, bid 5 or 6 projects, and you say, "Oh crap, I got 5 out of the 5, or 5 out of the 6. Now what?" Is that kind
That's where we're at right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you got a little experience with that, then, huh?
Definitely.
Over the years, and so you learned a little bit about how to deal with that, and how to put systems in place, and
it's really a lot about the people that you get behind you,
mm-hmm.
because I'm doing things that I've really only kind of dreamed of doing.
mm-hmm.
And I've got some people working for me in my office now where in the past I would say, let's try this.
Mm-hmm.
Let's try and put this system in place. And really the first statement you get out of people's mouths, oh, that's going to be hard.
Mm-hmm.
And really, you're just asking people to do their jobs.
Yeah.
And when you get people like that, I think that's when you really need to evaluate, no matter how much you may love these people, because I actually do love the people who work for me.
Yeah.
And almost to a detriment.
Yeah.
But then something happens, they move on, they go down the road, and then somebody always seems to step up and take their spot and do that job a little better, and you think, wow, why didn't I ever just move on and get another person?
Yeah.
And so we went through some steps, and now I've got an office staff that I could go in and almost, not that I would do it, but torture them.
Mm-hmm.
I could say, well, let's do this, and if I knew it was going to fail,
Yeah.
they would still do it.
Yeah.
Not that I would ever do it,
Yeah.
but all the things that I've asked them to do, I mean, just like that.
They get it done.
Yeah, it's that old philosophy. Some people say if it's not broke, leave it alone.
Yeah.
Right? I like breaking things, because once it's broke, you can fix it.
Yeah.
And then if it doesn't get fixed better, you can always go back to what you broke.
That's
Yeah.
interesting. That's
Absolutely.
awesome. That's an awesome.
And it's I think it's the difference between we talked about, Edward and I spoke about this on the radio this morning, the comfort, just being comfortable, and that's the biggest curse I think on people, is being just comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
We're good. I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to do something that could maybe increase my business 10 times, because there's a possibility that it could harm my business in the short term, and not willing to push the comfort zone, not willing to do. And so that's an amazing insight, Mike. I appreciate that. So,
and actually, one of the things I even have a conversation with my son about today, because he came in and he said to me this morning, he says, it's amazing how you can control somebody else's personality
mm-hmm.
just by how your personality is.
Oh, it's
because he said he went into the supermarket because he had to work late at night, and he went into the supermarket and he smiled and asked this person, "How are you doing today?" with a smile,
mm-hmm.
and he said that person just lit up.
Yeah.
And so, with that being said, I asked him. I said, because right now we're tapped out on work.
Mm-hmm.
We need employees.
Yeah.
And I said, how would it work out if I walked in my office in a panic saying, look, I don't know how we're going to get this done.
Mm-hmm.
We have way too much work.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, you know.
Yeah, it's like
So-
stress levels would go up, your attitude would change. You'd be like, it would be much better if you, like you said, you go into the supermarket with a smile on your face,
Yeah.
and that attitude just changes everything.
And I told my son, I said, the reality is, I know we're booked.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as I go in and I tell everybody, well, we have too much work, we can't get this done, I don't know how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
They're going to all panic.
Yeah.
So they're already panicked about it.
Mm-hmm.
I come in and I just say, it's no problem. It'll all get done.
Well, and the other thing too is if you act that way, the solution mindset, you totally cut off the solution mindset. How can I figure out what do we need to do? What's the way? There's always a way. There's always a way to figure it out, right? I believe that. There's always a solution to every problem. It's just having the ability to calm down, pull yourself out, and that's what's good about having a strong team around you too, because they can see things from different perspectives.
Yeah.
And be able to pull yourself out of the situation and figure out, okay, how in the hell are we going to get this done today, tomorrow, next week? So that's great, Mike. Well, those are great nuggets. I hope you guys are taking notes.
Yeah, that alone itself, that's
So-
worth the price of admission right there.
Yeah.
That one piece of advice from Mike.
Am I paying you guys to be here?
Yeah, we didn't tell you. We sent Tawny the bill, so it's actually scheduled. As soon as it's done, it just fires.
It's on the credit card, right?
So Mike, tell us a little bit about growing up. You know, where were you born? If you lived in Yuma your whole life, tell us about your upbringing, your story, your Yuma story.
Well, we lived in Scottsdale when it was just a little roping town. It wasn't Scottsdale then. Up until I was about 5 years old, and my dad moved here, and my uncle was Harvey Pate, and he owned Foothills Sanitation. They built septic tanks and out in the foothills and put them in and everything. And then they convinced my dad to come over here and start a plumbing shop, which he did, and that was Foothills Plumbing. And so I was about 5 years old when we moved here, and we've been here ever since then. And been pretty. Yuma's been pretty good to the
How was
family.
it? How was it growing up? What were your folks like? Did you have like heavy parenting? Were they really strict? Were you allowed to do your own thing? How was your upbringing?
I look back, I wish I was a little more strict like my parents were on me, but I mean we all kind of learned from where we come from. I think as parents, my wife and I are doing a pretty good job. Our kids never really get in trouble. As far as my parents, they were the typical parent, you do as I say and do it when I say, and everything else is easy. So it was, I always talk about being I like to say I was afraid of my dad, but not in a fear where I was morbidly afraid. It was I didn't want to disappoint him or be punished by him.
More out of respect.
Fear. Yeah.
So then, growing up, plumbing business. Obviously, you're 5 years old. It sounds like just about everyone in your immediate family is involved in septic tanks and plumbing. And so, is that something that you started off? Did you have a shovel in your hands at 5 years old, and how did that work?
No, not at 5. It was 6.
6. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, we had to get settled in Yuma first.
Yeah.
No, I can actually remember one of the. We lived down by Dairy Queen on 16th and Avenue B, and I can remember really the first ditch that I had to dig. Because I always wanted to go to work with my dad. I was always like, "Hey, can I go to work?" And he said, "No, I'll be." So I think it was a water line that needed to get replaced, and I was probably 10 years old. And I can remember going over there because they had dug the water line, they put it in, and my dad said, "Okay, you can go backfill that." And I remember it was that real cleachy type of dirt,
I know
and it's got grass in it, and so every one of the pile, it was like a clump of and so it was heavy. I could barely pick up the shovel, much less pick up the shovel with this dirt on it. And so I can remember that to this day, thinking, I look back, I think, really, this should have been a sign not to do this type of work, but it has been beneficial for me. So, but yeah, that's what I was probably about 10 years old out there trying to work. And
okay.
So did you always know you wanted to stick in that line of work, like your pops? Did you ever want to do anything different?
No, I didn't. I can remember my 8th. Someone I saw a video of it probably a couple of years ago. Somebody had it, and in an 8th grade graduation, they had a song that everybody was singing, and I can remember I volunteered and I said, yeah, I'll, and so they were talking about what I want to be, and then I had that little solo part where it said, I want to be a plumber, and I look back and you think, how many people really just run around saying, oh, I want to be a plumber?
Yeah. No, I mean, you knew what you wanted to do in 8th grade. I mean, how many people could say that?
Yeah.
You know, and then I think that's a lot of these trades that we have are almost kind of a lost art of sense, you know. I mean, obviously, you know, it seems like everyone wants to push their kids to be a doctor or a lawyer or, you know, something like that. And the thing is that the value that plumbers and electricians bring to communities, I mean, how do you quantify that value, you know? Or HVAC guys in this time of year.
Yes.
Tremendous value in Yuma, Arizona when it's 120 degrees on this coming Monday. So, okay, I think Edward's got the next one for you.
Yeah, so how did PhD come about? Do you want to give us a backstory on that?
Oh, it's a long story. But I'll try to give you the brief version so you don't have a 3-hour video here.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So obviously my dad started Foothills Plumbing. I took that over. I worked for my brother-in-law. He had Superior Plumbing. There came a point in time where he didn't really want to keep the name Foothills Plumbing, and so he gave me the option. I want to say I was 19 to 21, somewhere in that range. I can't remember exactly. And so I took over the Foothills Plumbing phone number and started doing service calls and working. And I can remember one of the first jobs I did was for Dr. Krishna. He has those where his office is down there. We put those buildings in. That was my first, what I would call a real big job, and so started there when the economy took a bit of a downturn back in 2008. Was it about that?
7, 8. Yeah.
7. I probably needed to be a better business person at that point in time, which I wasn't. That took a huge hit. Had some tax issues with Foothills Plumbing in 2000. I guess that was pre that. And then we were able to dissolve Foothills Plumbing, pay off those tax issues, and then we did Triple S Plumbing, and somewhere along the line I started a restoration division, which was Professional Home Doctor. Professional Home Doctor Restoration. And there came a point in my life where I had trouble deciphering who I was, because was I a plumber? Was I a restoration guy? And we also did bathtub resurfacing. And so I would have to look at the paperwork to see who I was, which was personal touch resurfacing. And I would have to make the phone call and say, hey, this is Mike from Personal Touch. Or this is Mike from Foothills Plumbing. And it really got to be a headache, and Professional Home Doctor, I named that based upon the initials of PhD.
Yeah.
And PhD was a lot less of a mouthful than Professional Home Doctor Restoration on the phone. So I decided just to get rid of all of the separations of every single company, because there was some sort of interlink between the companies that was, if I was ever to do something where one was going to get sued, they're all going to get drug in. So I just said, why don't we just call it PhD LLC, and I could just answer the phone PhD, and whatever service they were getting, they would know that it was PhD doing the job. And so that's kind of where it all tied into, and there's a lot of story behind all the companies and downturns, and that would maybe for another day if you want.
Let's get into that.
Oh, okay.
2007, 2008, market crashed. You know, problems with taxes or what have you, whatever the problems were. How did you overcome that and say, you know what, I'm going to keep going, I'm going to make this new company? What's your mindset then? Or what did you ever think that, hey, I'm not going to make it, let's throw in the white towel, I'll just work for somebody as a plumber, I have so much experience, I could... What was going through your mind?
Oh, I threw in the towel a bunch of times. No, I did. So it was going so big and so fast at that time, which I think we all know that, that you couldn't do wrong. All you had to do is get up in the morning and there was a new job for you. And and I probably had up to 40 some odd people, maybe even as high as 50 at one point in time, and just feeding the machine. I looked at this as a good time to go golfing. So I spent a lot of time golfing and had people running things, and it seemed like all the jobs stopped overnight. I mean, one day you have 50 people working, and they're all doing their job, and they're all getting 20 hours of overtime every single week. And 1 month later, you still have 50 people working, getting 20 hours of work, overtime of work, and there is no jobs going on. And there came a point in time where it was almost like, I owe how much money? And there's no money coming in? I think I better start laying some people off. Which is a bad thing, but I mean, that was part of what the economy did at that particular time. And so we started downsizing and downsizing and downsizing.
And so you had alluded to earlier, you said, maybe I wasn't as good of a businessman as I should have been. And so this downturn caused a lot of pain, obviously, but it also taught you how to be a better business person, right?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. You just don't ever want to run off and trust everybody with the checking out account. Basically what happened is we looked at some property we owned and our house and the amount of money I owed to other people, and it did not make financial sense to bankrupt, which maybe I could have and made it work, but we chose not to. I continued to work and downsized, did almost all the jobs myself. We probably had 2 or 3 people still working for us, and whenever we got a job, we got it. We made payments to the people that we owed money. When we ran into something that we could get a little bit of money from somebody, we passed that money on and negotiated some of the bills. We said, listen, we can pay you X amount I know I owe you X. I can give you Y right now if you can help me out on this.
Yeah. And
so we did a lot of that, and one day I didn't have any more bills.
Yeah.
Wow.
You just kept grinding. That's an amazing story. So would you change anything?
I can't.
No, if you could,
but
I mean, so I guess what I'm kind of going towards is,
I would say you're a lot like my wife. My wife plays the what if game.
The education that you received. I mean, you can't read about this kind of stuff in a book. The kind of lessons that Mike and Tawny both went through. You can only receive these lessons in life through going through some of the stuff that you did. I mean, that's the only way to do it. And so. Yet what many might perceive as failure is, if you would have quit, that would have been a failure.
Yes.
If you would have just quit and said, screw it, or I'm not doing anything, that would have been failure. But you didn't stop. So you turned something that was, there's a global downturn in the economy. It's much bigger than any of us.
Right.
So you turned something like that into life lessons, business lessons, which make you 1,000 times better as a business person today.
Definitely. No, honestly, I don't think I would. If I had to change something, it wouldn't have been the decisions that I made as it happened. I would have went back to the very beginning and planned better for it, as to the point of, why are we still getting 20 hours of overtime when, with 40 guys, when we have 30 hours of work for 10 guys. I would have looked at those numbers a lot better, and that's where the biggest mistake came from, is not analyzing the numbers. And I would as far as entrepreneurship, I would definitely tell anybody that if you're going to do one thing, analyze your numbers as they're happening, not because you have to do taxes. And that's what I did. I got to do taxes. Let's see if I made money.
And that's a great point. And one of the things is, like, even when you're writing down your goals and you have an income goal, whether you have a business or even not, it kind of goes like a budget. You have a financial budget for your household. You also have to have a budget as far as your business goes too. One of the things that for you, which really spoke to me is that you were doing the stuff yourself, trying to make things happen, grinding it, and you were getting your hands dirty also, not wanting to quit. And you had like 2 to 3 people. How many people do you have right now approximately?
I think we're up to about 25 to 30 again.
Wow, that's awesome. And you guys are just, you said you have so much work, you're blessed with that. What do you, how can I ask this question to where I can really get a deep answer?
Just ask it and I'll make it deep.
Okay, sounds good. I still want to pick your brain on your mindset. Like you say, yeah, we just did it, made it happen, but take us through a process. And I know you're an endurance athlete too, we'll get to that in a minute. But take us through a process. Did you ever think, man, what am I going to do? How am I going to do it? What is your thought process on that?
You know, I'm going to go back a little bit. I'm not that deep of a guy. I'm pretty shallow, and I don't mean that in a negative context. It's meaning, you know, there's people who go home at night and they can't sleep because they're worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't. You know what? Because when I wake up in the morning, I'm not going to solve any problems because I didn't sleep. When I go home, I go to bed, I sleep like a rock. My wife will attest to that. So as far as my mindset, it was pretty much just like that. It's, you know what, today's done. I'll get up tomorrow and I'll continue the grind. So so when I say I'm kind of shallow on the surface, it's really what's in front of me, and I'll conquer that today. And you have to have that mindset of I'm gonna win. You know,
you live in day-tight compartments, is what I've heard somebody explain that. That was a kind of an analogy that I've heard someone say. You know, I'm gonna worry about today. I'm not gonna worry about yesterday. What happened yesterday? I'm not gonna worry about tomorrow. I'm gonna take care of what I got to do today.
Yeah, because yesterday's over.
Yeah,
and tomorrow's not happening.
Can't change it. Don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah. So I mean, I know that's not probably the deepest answer you wanted.
No,
but
that was it. I was like,
all right.
You had the winner's mindset, but you just took it day by day and did what you could, slept that night, let's go back at it again in the morning. Yeah. Pretty much sums it up, right?
Yeah. And when I say winner, I don't have to always be the first. I have to succeed for what I want to do. You know, because back to the endurance athletes, I mean, I go out and ride bikes. You know, don't quit is almost being a winner sometimes. If you may not be in the front of the pack, but you didn't quit, so you succeeded. Was I better than the last time I did it? So,
yeah, that's awesome.
You want to?
Yeah, I guess so. Let me pull this guy up here again. Let me see here. So we kind of been bouncing around. So we're going to talk to you a little bit about. You've alluded to a little bit. You ride bicycles or something like that around town every once in a while.
Yeah.
Is that what else are you passionate about? Tell us a little bit about that passion and what drives you.
I'm the president of the Yuma Bike Club. We have some great members, and we're working on making that better. So my wife used to try to get me to go ride bikes with her all the time, and I never had the desire. But I did like to do events. You know, back to being a winner. It was, you know, I wanted to do a triathlon, and so I did a triathlon and found out that you have to be a swimmer, not swimming across the swimming pool to get a beer, but you have to swim across the pool a whole bunch of times.
And no beer involved.
No swim up bar, huh?
Yeah. And I didn't train for my first one, and then it was probably 15 years later before I tried another triathlon. And then when I got to that one, I told everybody we had a bunch of friends that wanted to do it as well. And I told them, I said, listen, we have to swim. Swimming is very, very difficult. And so we all went out and we practiced swimming. And so I also got a bike to ride, and we would go out and ride our bike. And I can remember we would go out and ride for 10 miles. And I thought, man, I am awesome. Yeah. And then you bumped that up one day and you rode 15 miles. And you thought, I can't believe that I just did 15 miles on a bike. And then 20 miles was the new goal. And once you get to riding, And I never still really had a desire to ride bikes. That was just training to go out and do the triathlon. And so my wife was going out and riding. She rode the Tour de Tucson and never. She actually went over there by herself. I didn't even go. I was like, I have no desire to go watch people ride bikes, much less ride it. And so when she came back, she convinced me to get on my bike and ride down. Or we drove down. Then we would drive to the bike ride, and we went down with the bike club at the time, which I was no part of, and I rode in the group. And you start getting in a group and you ride faster because you have the power of other people pulling you and dragging you along, and then sometimes they'd even come and push you, to help you keep up with the group.
I remember that. You doing that for me.
Yeah, little. It wasn't a lot. Just
I don't think
I'd
be here today.
You'd still be back out there on the road.
I'd be in Somerton still, yeah.
So I got in the group and I said, I like this. And so I started going and I rode, and someone said one day, hey, why don't you be the president of the club? And I said, okay. And so that's where we are now. Now we ride our bikes to the bike rides, and usually I don't mean to sound in a bragging way, but now we don't get on our bike unless we're gonna do 20 miles.
Yeah, so you set a new reality. It's all the so in racing or working out or in business or anything where it's this goal setting, you set a new reality for yourself.
Yeah.
Where you say, oh man, 10 miles, that's hard. I'm so proud. And then you're like, okay, I did that. Now what next? And it's not this idea of I'm never satisfied, but there's a little bit of that because you always want to push yourself to become a better version, right? And that's kind of that's how I feel. That's how Edward feels. And it seems like with you, it's not about I want to put show that guy that I'm better than him. It's I want to prove to me that I'm going to be better today than I was yesterday.
Yep.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's great stuff. We could go on into that really deep as well.
Yeah.
I know we're running short on time. This is good stuff, man. This is great stuff. We want to acknowledge you again for taking time out of your busy schedule and coming down here.
One more question for him.
Okay.
How much do I got to pay you guys?
Yeah, we've got a PayPal account. So Edward, the one piece of advice, right?
That's
for
right.
Entrepreneurs.
That's right.
So you're here. You can speak to us. You can see people on the street or whatever. But hopefully, this video is going to be online for a long time, right? So somebody might be watching this 5 years from now, and or 5 days from now. And the whole point of this podcast is to get people to go out and be entrepreneurial, take risks, move forward, fail, reinvent themselves, and just take action. So, as an entrepreneur like yourself, you've been through the ups, you've been through the downs, you've had to reinvent yourself a few times. What's the one piece of advice you would give to that person that's sitting out there thinking, I've got this great idea to do X, but I'm afraid?
I guess one of the things is back to like the cycling thing. Maybe I didn't want to go out with a group because I was a little afraid I wouldn't keep up or I wouldn't succeed. But when you start getting into a group, what did I tell you happened with the group? The group drags you along. They push you. They keep you motivated. So same with business. If you go out and try to tackle the problem or the entrepreneurship on your own, you might be setting yourself up for failure. So what I would say is, if you know somebody who's done it, talk to them. If you, back to your books, one of the books that I liked is the E-Myth. I mean, I tell everybody who ever wants to start a business to read that book. But I would say get some sort of coaching, rather, and not meaning paying somebody to coach you, but get a mentor or somebody who has failed or who has succeeded.
I think those are mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're not going to be a success in this life without failure.
Yeah, it's just how control your failure.
Have you ever wrecked on your bike?
Broke my collarbone.
Yeah, I mean, right? And
Yeah.
so, I mean, it's just, that's just that you got to get over that part of it. Failure's going to come.
You just discourage all humans to join Mike's
Cycling adventure.
It didn't even hurt that much. Trust me.
I was on the bike. I was on the bike within
Yeah.
about 4 weeks.
Yeah, I'm sure you didn't complain once to Tani. I'm sure not.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, ultimately, you have to have somebody to help you make those steps in the correct direction, and that's so when you're slowing down, you have somebody to pick you up.
Mm-hmm.
So that I think is one of the most important things, and don't ever say, "I'll do it on my own."
Mm-hmm.
You may do it on your own, but if you can learn from somebody else's mistakes, if anybody ever wants to call me up and say, "Hey, what do you think of this?" or what did you do about that? I'm always willing to share. Most people want to share. Most people want to help people, and so you have to ask.
Love it. You have to be curious.
Yeah.
You can't be afraid. So you heard that. Mike's willing to be anyone's mentor.
928-941-0398.
There you go.
Wow.
Mike, that was awesome. I mean, what a great interview. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank
And-
you.
And thank you for listening.
Yep.
Keep up the comments. We will continue to do our show, and we look forward to our next guest. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good stuff.